Hello everyone, I'm Eleanor and I'm one of the trainers at Healthy Dialogues. Welcome to the recording of Resilience Workshop 2, Developing Personal Awareness. This is the second workshop in a series of 3 workshops produced by Healthy Dialogues in collaboration with Thrive London and funded by the Mayor of London. In today's rapidly changing world, resilience has become an essential skill for navigating challenges and thriving in both personal and professional spheres. This series of workshops are designed to provide you with the practical tools and strategies to enhance your resilience, enabling you to bounce back from setbacks, adapt to adversity, and maintain well-being amidst life's ups and downs. The workshop is a recorded version of the live event and there is a BSL interpreter present throughout the workshop. As it is a recording, you'll not be able to access the live Mentimeter, but the facilitator will read out some of the comments that were submitted by attendees on the live workshop. Today's training has been designed and delivered by the team at Healthy Dialogues. Healthy Dialogues is an independent behaviour change advisory and delivery consultancy and a leading provider of health and wellbeing training for frontline professionals. The team of health psychologists and public health practitioners at Healthy Dialogues have been delivering evidence-based behaviour change training across England since 2013. If you would like to find out more, please check out our website or send us an email. Okay, so we've looked at what we're going to be covering today. And then just a short recap on what was talked about last week. So for those that joined us last week, this will be familiar, maybe a little refresher. For those of you that didn't, this was what was covered in workshop 1. So we talked about what resilience was, and we looked at the definition of resilience. So resilience is the capacity to bounce back from adversity, setbacks and challenges. It involves the ability to adapt to stressors, maintain a positive outlook and persevere in the face of difficulties. So we also talked a little bit about the benefits of developing resilience. We talked about how to enhance resilience. We talked about what stress is and how it's triggered. So we looked at internal stresses, we looked at external stresses. And then lastly, I asked people to, if they could get a chance to do it before today, just to have a look at a stress scale and then to write down on the worksheet that we provided things that they can control and things that they couldn't control, and thinking about how they wanted to manage those things in their life that they could control. So that's just a very quick recap of what we talked about last week. And as I said earlier, last week was recorded, so you will have access to that recording at the end of March. Okay, so now we're going to get going with what we're talking about this week. Before we do, I just wanted to share this absolutely fantastic quote that I found, and I think it really is helpful in terms of doing resilience training, because I think there can be a really common misconception that some people are resilient and some people aren't, and that's just how you're born. And that's why I love this quote, because it says, resilience is not magic. It is not found only in certain people, and it is not a gift from unknown sources. All humans have the capacity to become resilient. So let me know in using the reactions in Teams, what do people think of that quote? Does anyone else like it as much as I do? What do we think? Oh yeah, I'm getting lots of hearts, lots of thumbs up. Yeah, I really love this. It just gives us the confidence to think that actually we can work on our resilience. It's a skill to be developed. Okay, so why is confidence important in resilience then? So confidence acts as a catalyst for the development of resilience, and it does this by influencing how individuals perceive themselves, how they approach challenges, seek support, regulate their emotions, and persist in the face of adversity. So building confidence is a really valuable aspect of personal development, and it helps to contribute to a resilient mindset and the ability to navigate life's ups and downs more effectively. So we're going to look at some of the ways in which confidence is important in resilience. So first one is positive self-perception. So confidence contributes to a positive self-perception. So when people believe in their abilities and their strengths, they're more likely to view challenges as opportunities for growth rather than insurmountable obstacles. And we're going to be having a little look a bit more at strengths in a bit. Mindset shift. So confident people are more likely to adopt a growth mindset. And a growth mindset involves seeing failures as opportunities to learn and improve rather than as indications of inherent limitations. So some of you might have heard of the work by Carol Dweck. So that's really, really great in terms of, I would fully recommend going and reading all of that. She talks about growth mindset and fixed mindset. Next, we've got risk-taking and adaptability. So confidence allows individuals to take calculated risks and to step out of their comfort zones. So when we're faced with adversity, people that are confident are more likely to embrace change and adapt to new circumstances. It also is implicated in social support. So confident people tend to be more socially adept and capable of seeking support when needed. So building and maintaining a supportive social network is a key factor in resilience. So we talked a little bit in last week's workshop about how important social support was. And when people were putting things in the word cloud last week, social support and social networks came up as a big factor. So confident people tend to be more likely to reach out to others for assistance, guidance, and encouragement during challenging times. And it's not just about reaching out to people, it's about accepting that help as well. Sometimes some people find that a little bit difficult to accept that help from other people. So confidence is also really important in emotional regulation. So confidence is actually associated with better emotional regulation. So being able to notice what you're feeling at the time and put in strategies to manage those emotions. And then lastly, we've got a reduced fear of failure. So confidence helps to reduce our fear of failure. Resilient individuals see failures as temporary setbacks and they're more likely to view them as opportunities to learn and grow. So instead of seeing something that's happened as, oh no, that's going to be it for now, that's going to be my life forever, actually thinking, no, this is just a temporary thing. I can get through this and I can take control of the situation and do something different. So building confidence is a really valuable aspect of personal development and it really helps to contribute to our resilient mindset. So what are one of the ways that we can develop our confidence to improve our confidence? So one of the ways is to think about our strengths and skills. So recognizing and understanding our personal strengths and skills is a really fundamental aspect of improving our confidence and also building our resilience. So, this greater self awareness forms the basis for our ability to be resourceful when we're navigating our challenges. And it also allows us to use these strengths and skills and this self awareness to buffer against any setbacks that we might face. So what I would like you to do now then is using the Mentimeter. So Ashley's going to go on to the slide on the Mentimeter so that you can put all your answers in. What I'd love you to do is to just list a few of your strengths into the Mentimeter, and then in a minute we'll move on to skills. But first of all, I just want you to think about listing 5 of your strengths. I really want to hear what everyone thinks that their strengths are. And if you're finding it hard to come up with any of your strengths, think about what a friend might say or a colleague would say that your strengths are. If you were speaking to a friend over a cup of tea and you asked them what do you think my strengths would be? What do you think that they would answer? So what sort of strengths have we got? So once you've had a chance to put those in, Ashley is going to kindly read out a few of them. So we'll just give you a few minutes just to put those answers in.
We've got loads coming up here now. We've
Wow.
got and It keeps changing. So empathy seems to be the one here. Patience, kindness, a good listener, understanding, compassion, approachable. Good listening is raising in its profile here. Um, Positivity as well. Organized, and supportive. Yeah, loads happening.
Great. Oh,
Focus.
fab. Thank you for sharing those, Ashley. That's really great to hear some of those strengths coming up. And I always love seeing everyone contribute their strengths. It's so nice, and it's a real confidence boost thinking about all the things that we're good at. I think so often we tend to dwell on things that we're not doing too well at, but it's nice to have an opportunity to think about our strengths. So I heard that kindness was one of the ones that came up then. So an example of using kindness in a workplace scenario and how you can use it to your advantage. So I've got an example here. So maybe when you're working on a project and you're facing setbacks in the project, you're facing tight deadlines, a kind-hearted person can play a pivotal role in being able to cultivate resilience amongst team members. So by fostering open communication, offering positive reinforcement, demonstrating empathy, and performing acts of kindness, and promoting work-life balance, kind individuals are able to create a supportive environment where team members feel valued and supported. So, through small gestures and genuine concern for their colleagues' well-being, this person helps to alleviate stress, boost morale, and build trust within the team. So you can see within that how just using one of our strengths, so if you listed kindness as your strength, that's the knock-on effect you can have within a team, within yourself, when you're thinking about building yourself and your others' resilience. So you can use that strength of being kind and kindness and all those gestures of empathy and all of that that comes with it, to really help boost resilience within a team. Great. So really fab to hear that. And if you get a chance, I'd like you to put in any skills that you have as well. So that should be on the next screen in the Mentimeter, so people can have a quick go at that whilst we move on. Okay, so thinking about some of the strengths that underpin resilience. So resilience research has identified some common strengths that resilient people that have high resilience typically have. So it doesn't mean that you have to have all of these skills or strengths. These are just some of the things that they found that are common. You might have one of two of these things. But as I just said, any sort of strength can really help to underpin resilience and help to cultivate it within a workplace. So we've got high frustration tolerance. So this is someone's ability to withstand or manage frustration, setbacks, and challenges without becoming overly distressed, agitated, or discouraged. We've also got humour. So this is not necessarily one that people always think about when they think about resilience, but having a sense of humour can really help you to find light moments in dark times. So it encourages you to not take yourself and your ideas too seriously. And this allows you to take a step back and see things from a different perspective. So, humor also can really help to diffuse tense situations and brings a sense of solidarity to any challenges that you and others are facing. So, I don't know if anyone's been in a situation where they've been with their colleagues or their co-workers, and something really challenging, you've been working on a really challenging project, and actually someone just cracks a couple of jokes and it just really helps to lighten the tension. You all feel like you're sort of in it together. So yeah, humor is a really, really important one. In addition to that, being able to keep things in perspective. So this allows you to avoid jumping to conclusions or making negative assumptions when a difficult situation is being faced. So instead, you're able to take a step back and appraise the situation in a calm and measured way. This enables you to look at all the different options that you might have available in order to deal with the challenging situation. Then we spoke a little bit earlier about emotional regulation. So this is the ability to moderate any intense feelings that you might have about a stressful situation. And you're able to recognize that your feelings are not facts. You can stand back from those feelings and have a look at the facts of the situation and make a decision about how you want to respond. So we'll talk a little bit more about emotional regulation in the next workshop. So if you are interested in learning more about that, definitely do join into that. And there's also a section on it in the conflict resolution workshop. So I would strongly suggest you book into one of those if you're able to as well. So as I mentioned earlier, being able to ask for help and also accept help from others is really important. So you can, speak to other people that you trust. You can vent any pent up emotions to them. They might be able to provide you some reassurance and just make you feel that you're not alone in dealing with your stressful situations. So curiosity, another one that maybe we don't always think about when it comes to resilience. So curiosity is your willingness to try things out, to make new discoveries, and just be generally open-minded towards the situation that you're going to face. So instead of just going into those assumptions and those judgments that, oh no, this is how it's going to be now, I don't have the resources to cope with this, taking a more open-minded approach and thinking, okay, what are all my options here? If I think a little bit more creatively about this situation, what can I do here to help with this challenging situation? And this then leads in again to the ability to problem solve. So thinking creatively about kind of ways that we might use other things that we can draw on to face any challenging situations. Okay, so what do we think about those strengths underpinning resilience? So if you can give me a reaction, it could be a thumbs up or any of the other ones. So I've got, yeah, a few thumbs up. Great, fab. So that's what we think of, yeah, all of these strengths. And also, I should say, for those that missed it at the start, we will be including the Mentimeter word clouds in the copy of the slides that you receive at the end. So I know sometimes people would love to see what other people are putting, so we will include those. Okay, so now we're going to move on to thinking about thoughts and what thoughts have to do with developing resilience. So again, I found another quote here from some researchers. So these researchers suggest that our research has demonstrated that the number one roadblock to resilience is not genetics, not childhood experiences, and not a lack of opportunity or wealth. The principal obstacle to tapping into our inner strength lies with our thinking style. So these are the ways of looking at the world and interpreting events that every one of us develops from childhood. So we're going to have a little look now at thoughts and beliefs and how that merges in with resilience. So has anyone heard of the ABC model? So you can use the react button if you have heard of it. So raise your hand if you've heard of this before. Yeah, so I'm getting a few through. So might be kind of a refresher for some people. For other people, this is going to be new. So we're going to talk through this model now. So the ABC model is typically used in cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's a framework for understanding the connection between our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. So I think typically when something happens, so an activating event, we think that we go straight to the consequences. So we think, oh, that situation has annoyed me and now I'm going to react. When actually there is something in the middle. So these are the beliefs that we have about the activating event. So I'll talk through the model now. So first of all, we have the activating event. So this represents the event or the situation that triggers a person's emotional response. So it could be anything from a specific situation, interaction, memory, or an external circumstance. This then leads us to forming beliefs. So the beliefs represent the person's thoughts about an activating event. These beliefs can be either rational or irrational. So rational beliefs are based on evidence, logic, and reality, whereas irrational beliefs are distorted, unrealistic, or unhelpful. And then this then leads on to consequences. So these represent the emotional and behavioural consequences of the person's beliefs about the activating event. So these consequences can include emotions such as anger, anxiety, sadness, guilt, as well as behaviours such as avoidance, withdrawal, aggression, or rumination. So this might be a little bit confusing to start with, but we are going to go on in a minute and have a look at some examples of the ABC model in practice. So hopefully it should be able to become a bit clearer for everyone. So the model suggests that by identifying and challenging irrational and unhelpful beliefs, so the B in the model, people can modify their emotional and behavioural responses, which is C, the consequences, to the activating event, which is A. This then leads to improved coping strategies and emotional well-being. So I know that's a little bit complicated to start off with, but as I say, we will go on to some examples now, just so, and hopefully that will help make everything a little bit clearer. So I've got a couple of examples here about using the ABC model. So we're going to look at a few beliefs that challenge resilience. So in example 1, we've got the activating event is losing your job. So that would be the A in the ABC model. So one way that you could think about this is, I'm a failure because I've lost my job. I'll never find another job and my career is over. This is the worst thing that could have happened to me. So that's the belief. And then the consequence of thinking this way might be, you might have feelings of hopelessness, low self-esteem, and anxiety about the future. You might start to avoid job search activities because you're worried about a fear of rejection and failure. You might also have difficulty sleeping and concentrating due to the stress of this and the fear of losing your job. So that's kind of one way that we might go through the ABC model. That's one example. Instead, I'm going to provide an example of a reframed belief. So we're going to look at the B in the ABC model, so the beliefs and thoughts. So an alternative might be, losing my job is challenging, but it doesn't define my worth or my future. It's an opportunity to explore new career paths and develop new skills. Many people experience job loss and go on to find fulfilling employment. This then would have the consequence of feelings of disappointment and uncertainty. You definitely would still feel those, but also a determination and resilience. So you might be more proactive in your job search efforts. You might reach out to networking contacts. You might explore new career opportunities within your network. You might also seek support from your friends and your family. You might seek out a career counsellor for some practical assistance. So all of these things lead on. They're the consequences of that reframed belief that we just talked about. So would anyone like another example? Would that be helpful if I gave another example, or are we happy with just that one and moving on? Okay, so I'm getting a few thumbs up. So we'll go through another example because that sounds like that would be helpful. Okay, so example 2. So the activating event for both scenarios is work stress. Okay, so the first belief, the B in the model, is, I can't handle this workload. I'm going to fail at my job and everyone will think poorly of me. I'll never be able to keep up and I'll never succeed in my career. This would lead to consequences such as feeling overwhelmed, anxious. You might doubt yourself. You then might have difficulty concentrating on tasks, leading to you being not very productive. The quality of your work might be poor. You might also avoid any work-related responsibilities due to fear of failure or criticism. And you might start getting physical symptoms such as headaches, fatigue, or digestive issues due to stress. So we talked about a few of those physical symptoms last week when we covered stress. So an example of a reframed belief for this same activating event, and the activating event, the A, is work stress. So this is a reframed belief. So this workload is challenging. but it's an opportunity for growth and development. I have successfully managed successful situations in the past, and I have the skills and resources to overcome this challenge. I can prioritize tasks, seek support from colleagues, and focus on progress rather than perfection. So the consequences of that reframe belief might be that you're still acknowledging the feeling of stress. So you're not trying to deny the feelings of stress, but actually what you're doing is you're seeking support from other colleagues and other supervisors. So you might also use time management strategies such as prioritizing tasks and setting realistic goals. You might also start engaging in self-care activities such as exercise or relaxation techniques. And what you do is focus on problem solving and taking proactive steps to address this work-related stress. Okay, so thinking then about both of those examples, we're now going to have a look at our own way of thinking. So I'd like you to have a go at doing this using your own examples. So thinking about the ABC model. So what I'd like you to do is to first off think of a situation that you're currently dealing with, and I want you to think about what beliefs do you hold that might be making this situation harder to deal with. So you don't have to write this down, you can just think about it. You can just think about it. You can write it down if you want to, but just want you to really consider what's the situation that you're dealing with and what beliefs are you currently holding about this difficult situation. And then once you've had a little think about that, in the Mentimeter, I would like you to put in the beliefs that you would like to hold. So what are the reframed beliefs about that situation? How would you like to respond in the situation in order to contrast it with what you're currently thinking about it? What are some more helpful thoughts? So if you can put those in the Mentimeter. And then just while you're thinking about that, because sometimes it can be quite hard to think just straight off the bat about what our reframed thoughts are, I want you to have a think about some of these questions. These questions will help you to reframe those thoughts. So the first question is your belief rigid or flexible? So rigid beliefs keep you stuck in a very fixed viewpoint, whereas flexible thinking allows you to experiment with new ways of thinking or behaving. So with those thoughts that you've got about your current situation, is that a very fixed thought or is it quite a flexible one? When you're reframing those thoughts, can you make it a little bit more flexible? Second question is your belief realistic or unrealistic? So does your perspective of the situation match up with the facts? So, for example, if I was scared of going swimming in the pool because I thought, oh, there might be some sharks in this pool, a very crazy thought that is, and definitely something I am scared of, even though I know it's very unrealistic. So, thinking about that thought, well, it's very, very unlikely that there are going to be any sharks in the pool. It might be different if I go sea swimming. So, thinking about is your belief realistic or unrealistic? And then lastly, is your belief helpful or unhelpful? So even if it is realistic, is it helping you? Is it causing you more stress? What are the advantages and disadvantages for you if you hold on to this belief? So again, it might be realistic, but actually it's really unhelpful for you because it's just causing you more stress. And then a last additional question that you can ask, I really like this one, is would you teach this way of thinking to someone else? So would you teach this way of thinking to a colleague or a child? So thinking about how you're currently thinking about that difficult situation you're facing and the thoughts that you have about that. Would you share those thoughts or teach those thoughts to someone else? So I definitely wouldn't want to pass on to someone else that they should be scared of swimming in a swimming pool because of sharks, because I know that it's very unrealistic. Okay, so if you've had a chance then to share in the Mentimeter, what are some of the reframed beliefs that you'd like to have, if Ashley's able to share some of them?
Yes, certainly some loads. So beliefs I'd like to hold, everyone is unique.
Mm-hmm.
I can do anything if I put my mind to it.
Mm.
Um, address a problem before it gets worse.
Uh,
Um, I'm a great person. I like that one.
I like that one. I think I
Yeah.
might steal that one actually and put that as a put that as a little post-it note above my desk. Yeah.
Put it on my mirror in the mornings.
Yes.
Everyone is capable to progress and develop.
Yep.
And I can be content, fulfilled, and earn money. There's loads here, but it will
Fab.
get better.
Great. I like that one.
Yeah, and try to be understanding and have clear, understanding, clear, and have empathy. Oh, there's loads I could go on.
Yeah.
That's
great. Thank you for sharing those, Ashley. And as I said at the start of the training, we will include, I'll include some screenshots of some of the different beliefs that people would like to hold. We'll share those as part of the presentation. Sometimes it's nice to see what other people are putting. Great. So I'm really, really impressed with all of those reframed thoughts. And that's just something to think about when you're facing a difficult, stressful situation or a challenge. So then thinking about in terms of long-term change. So maintaining change of these reframed beliefs can be quite difficult in the long term. This is just due to the fact that we do tend to revert back to old patterns of thinking when we're stressed. This tends to be because it's familiar, even if the thoughts are unhelpful. So you can put a few things into place to help maintain the change in thinking. So we're going to go through those now. Firstly, remember the ABC model that we just covered. So if you're finding that your thoughts are slipping back, maybe just going back to the ABC model and going through it again, and even coming up with some new reframed thoughts, or just reinforcing the ones that you've already come up with. So secondly, you can keep a learning diary. So you might not have heard of a learning diary. This is basically keeping a record of what you're thinking about a situation is. So at the end of this training, I'm going to include a worksheet that includes a thoughts and beliefs record. So you can use that for this learning diary. So what I would want you to do if you're going to keep a learning diary is to think of what happened in the situation, how you responded, how you wanted to respond, and what you learned from the experience and what you might want to do differently next time. So if you're finding that you are slipping back into old patterns, maybe writing down what it was about the situation that contributed to you slipping back into old thinking patterns, and then reflecting on what you might want to do differently next time and how you might achieve that. So this will really help you to identify any helpful things that are helping you, any coping strategies that you might be using that you might not have thought of, and then you can use them again in the next situation. So the next thing is looking for role models. So role models or people that you admire can be really helpful. So is there someone at work that you think deals with setbacks really well? You might want to ask them if they have any tips or advice for managing difficult situations. So for example, if you've got any colleagues or co-workers that always meet their deadlines, you might want to have a chat with them, and they might share how they always manage to meet their deadlines. Is it that they're using a specific time management tool, or they have a particular way of thinking about managing their workload, and they might be able to share that with you. And then lastly, keep setting goals for yourself. So this will help with developing your resilience. So they don't have to be major goals. They can just be really small steps that are challenging for you. So an example of this might be, you might not like how you reacted to a traffic jam on your way to work. So maybe you sat in the traffic jam and you thought, oh, this is really annoying. It's going to make me late. I feel really stressed now. And you might set yourself a goal to think, okay, the next time I get stuck in a traffic jam, how might I want to respond? Maybe I'll want to sit there and I'll think, actually, I'm not in control of this situation. This isn't something I can control. What I can control is how I'm reacting to it. So I might think, oh, I'm going to put on my favorite song and I'm going to have a sing along to that because I can't do anything else. So I might as well enjoy listening to my favorite song. So just think about how might you want to react differently to these situations, and keep setting yourself these goals to react differently. Okay, so just before I move on to the worksheet and talking a little bit more about that, I'm just going to move on to our evaluation. So for those that joined us last week, you will have seen this as well. So we'd really appreciate it if you could just spare maybe just a couple of minutes, 30 seconds, just to fill out our quick evaluation survey. So I've got the link to it on the screen. We're also going to put the link in the chat. We've also got the QR code, so you can use your camera on your phone if you've got a phone that has a camera to scan that QR code and access the evaluation form. So we really do appreciate people giving us some feedback on these workshops. It just means that we can improve them for the future. Also, we'll have a better idea of the things that you're all looking for in terms of workshops, any future workshops that might be put on. It'll all be fed back to Thrive London so that they can think about what other training and workshops to offer everyone. So if you could just spare just maybe 30 seconds to fill in our evaluation survey, we would really appreciate that. Okay, so while everyone's doing that, I'm just going to talk a little bit about before the next session. So before the next session, if you get a chance, please don't feel pressured or that you can't join the next session if you haven't done this. This is just something that might be useful for you, a takeaway from the session. So if you do get a chance, I'd love it if you could just keep a very short thought or beliefs record. So over the next week or so, just try and jot down a couple of instances where a stressful situation has come up for you. And then I want you to think about what were your beliefs, what were your thoughts about that situation, what emotions came up for you, and then how did you respond? So what was your behaviour to that stressful situation? So if you do have any beliefs that you think were unhelpful, maybe they were rigid, maybe they were unrealistic, thinking about those 3 questions that we talked about earlier, I want you to come up with a couple of alternative suggestions. So what are some reframed thoughts that you can have for that situation? So just if you get a chance over the next week or so, just jot down a couple of situations and go through this thoughts and beliefs record, just so that you can put into practice some of the things that we've learned today. Okay, so I realise we're just coming towards the end of the session now, and we've got an opportunity on the Mentimeter to put in any questions. I'm just going to whiz through to the end slide just because sometimes we do get questions about when the next workshops are. So I've put up on the screen there. So the things that we'll be covering in the 3rd workshop are coping strategies, mindfulness, how to foster a supportive workplace, and goal setting. So at the end of that workshop, we'll be talking about how to create a resilience plan for yourself. So that will encompass all the learning that you've done over the 3 workshops and how you can put that into a plan for yourselves. So we are only running the 3rd workshop once more. Again, we will have Samaya, our fabulous BSL interpreter, on that workshop. It will also be recorded, so that's happening next Monday. We have also got a conflict resolution workshop, and that's happening this Wednesday. So that won't be recorded, that one, because we recorded the one that we had last week, and Samaya was on the one last week. So if you missed that one last week and you can't get to the one this week, that was recorded, so you will be able to access that at some point. Okay, so we've just got a couple of minutes now. So has anyone got any thoughts or questions that they'd like to share? Anything on the Mentimeter that you would like to share?
So far we've got one question. Is there an online scored test on resilience that one might be able to do?
Yeah, so in workshop 1, we had a link to an online resilience test that you could do. It's only 4 questions, so a really short one on that. If you weren't able to make that session and you'd like a link to it, just drop us an email either at Healthy Dialogues or Thrive London, and we will get that link to you, so that you can take that resilience test. It's really, really helpful. It gives you a score, only 4 questions. It's a good way of just getting a rough idea of kind of how resilient you currently are. Okay, so have we got any other questions or thoughts?
Just one question on the chat. Would you be able
Mhm.
to inform us when the recording for the conflict resolution training is available?
Yeah, so at the moment we don't have the date, but I will find that out for you, and we'll let you know. Either Healthy Dialogues or Thrive London will let everyone know when those recordings are available, because I know there's a few people that are really keen to have a watch of those. So yeah, we will definitely let you know when they're available. Great, and I think we've got maybe time for if there's any more questions, just a lot, or comments
Oh,
just
wait one
before we end.
second. My apologies. There's a couple more questions have come up.
Okay.
Sorry, thank you, Ines or Helen. What about resilience in the face of toxic work colleagues? We can't control the behaviour, but we can control our reaction. How does that translate in a work environment?
Yeah, so it might be helpful to join in next week's workshop, because we're going to be looking at personal coping strategies that we can use. So again, you might not be able to change other people's behaviours, you might not be able to change the situation you're in, but we are going to be looking at what can we do ourselves to keep ourselves safe and mentally well. So I definitely recommend joining the 3rd workshop for a bit more information on that question. Hopefully that's helpful. Great. Okay, well, we're just coming to the end now. If there's any questions that we haven't answered, I will include them in the email that you get at the end, because I know people have to rush off really quickly after these. So I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone for joining. Thank you to Ashley for manning the chat and the Mentimeter and reading stuff out. That was really helpful. And a big thank you to our BSL interpreter, Samaya, for joining us this morning and providing our BSL interpreting service. So thank you, everyone. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you found it enjoyable. I hope you've got things to take away. It was lovely to be with you all this morning, and really massive thank you for engaging in the Mentimeter. I love to see all of those strengths and skills that you put in, and I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. And if you are able to join us for our Resilience Workshop 3 next week, be great to see you there, or our Conflict Resolution Workshop on Wednesday. But I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. And yeah, thank you again for joining us. It's been really lovely to see you all.
Thank you, everyone.
And go well with the rest of your day.